Everyone, welcome back to Kata-Kata Kita. My name is Adib.
My name is Molly.
They are both the lead artists of this program. My name is Hing Luan. I'm the I'm the artistic director of this program.
So we hope that you've been enjoying the program so far. It's really been we've been very floored by the generosity of your sharing here and also the sharing of everyone at home. And today we'd like to invite one more person to come and continue the sharing with us. Let's welcome Kak Zahara Mahmood, social worker, who will be joining us for the discussion panel. Thank you, Kak Zahara.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Take a seat, please.
Thank you for having me.
You're most welcome. So, Kak Zahara,
Yes.
maybe before we start, you could tell us a little bit more about who you are and what you do?
Okay, so I've been in practice as a social worker for the past 30 years. So old already. Can you see the abo? Okay, so 30 years I've been practicing as a social worker in many fields. In a healthcare sector. Used to be at Changi General Hospital. So now I'm in a family service center in a social service sector. So social workers, you can find them almost everywhere in school. We also do work in prison. Yeah. So we also do a lot of training. For me, it would be palliative care training. That has taken me and the volunteers from the Singapore International Foundation all the way to Jakarta. We train nurses, doctors on palliative care. So we bring our expertise abroad, and it's a lot of sharing session about end-of-life issue, about care for the living ones, those that are left behind. Yeah. So those are the work that I do.
Kak, so you have watched our drama just
Yes,
now, right?
yes, very nice, very
okay.
touching.
So what would you actually do for this family?
Oh, a lot. We have to do a lot of work.
Yes.
But,
Share, Kak.
but they also need to do a lot of work together. Sometimes it's difficult to have conversation. Most often than not, you might think that your loved ones know what's going on with you. But we are people. We are not superhero like Eternals. We are not mind readers. Guys, we are not mind readers. So sometimes whatever you are feeling, whatever you are thinking, people cannot interpret. It's very difficult unless you voice out and you open up. Yeah. So for this family, I think the sister has dropped a lot of hints along the way. If anything happened to me, Adik, you take care of my social media, erase everything. But social media is something that she really loves. She's very happy doing it, but suddenly she told the brother, you erase everything, all the hashtag with my bro, all gone. Yeah. And then she dropped a few hints like, what's going to happen to father. She's already thinking about her death. Yeah. Actually, if you're sharp enough and you watch from where I was seated behind, she already talking about end of life, preparing for the loved ones. First thing first, the husband. You better not get married, huh? She already have that in mind because her intention is the safety of the children. Who's going to look after her loved ones, the little ones. So I think she has dropped a lot of hints along the way. It's just a matter of stepping back and trying to reflect what is actually happening. And I think Ashraf got it. Ashraf is thinking something like, there's something funny going on. Because Ashraf has been exposed to lasting power attorney, things that he needs to do for the uncle. So I think he has been exposed to all these themes about end of life, preparing for those who are left behind, things that need to be taken care of when somebody is not able to make their own decision, who has lost their voice. I think Ashraf is going to get it faster than Azhar. Very busy,
Busy lah.
Busy bee lah, huh?
So, in that sense, busyness is something that is being used as the main reason, right, as the barrier between having this conversation. But you mentioned some of the resources, right, lasting power of attorney, and we've also heard about advanced care planning. So maybe how can advanced care planning and resources like this help maybe bridge that gap between Azura and Azhar, for example?
A lot. Advanced care planning is like an umbrella thing. You use it to actually plan about your current as well as your future healthcare needs, which are consistent to your values and your wishes. So if you have that, that conversation as early as possible, and I strongly recommend those with chronic illnesses. For Azura, if it's really cancer, it's something that she really needs to sit down, because when cancer hit you at stage 3, stage 4, when you are already at a terminally ill stage, there's a lot of things that she may not be able to focus on because she'll be too engulfed with the pain that she's suffering. So having this early conversation really helps. So we start with ACP first lah, Advanced Care Planning. In Malay, it's called PPA. Not PPE. PPE is where you against COVID, to protect, but it's PPA. And it's very mouthful, Molly. Perancangan. Penjagaan. Awal. So it's very long, it's very mouthful. Sometimes when you talk to our Malay makcik, pakcik, or even, youngsters like me already half a century, we find that, alamak, so long. Yeah, so it's ACP, in Malay is Perancangan Penjagaan Awal. Yeah. And then when you have that conversation early, it's just basically about, okay, I am by nature very happy-go-lucky person. Yeah, I like to be around people. So if I get sick and I cannot be independent, what kind of life is that? And if I have to be, dependent on machine, I'm just like literally not aware of my environment. What kind of life is that? Yeah. So ACP will cover that aspect about the kind of care and treatment that you prefer. If it gets worse and you are discharged from hospital, do you want to go to a nursing home environment or a daycare center for your therapy? Or if you're really critical and doctors say that, hey, your prognosis is very bad, you only have like 12 months or 6 months to go. Can they take care of me, or should I be going to hospice? Those are the conversation that needs to take place when you are mentally alert, when you have that mental capacity to talk about it. And I think you need to identify who among your family members or your friends, those that are very close to you, who really know you, your kaki, to be your nominated healthcare spokesperson. NHS. You know lah, ACP, NHS, alamak, a lot of acronym. Later I go back by PIE. So you need to identify that person, and that person needs to sit down and have that conversation with you. This conversation cannot be done in just one session, everything you know. It has to be ongoing. And if she's confirmed having cancer, at certain stage, she will need to go into whatever that she has discussed and review maybe some of the treatment plan that she has put on paper. Okay, this is what I want, this is what I want. But, as your condition gets worsened, you might want to have a different treatment plan. So it's an ongoing process of having conversation with your loved ones.
And it's not just like one scenario, it's multiple scenarios. I think going back to the PPA.
The LPA. The LPA.
LPA.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
No, it's okay. Yeah.
Half a century you already did. So LPA is the lasting power of attorney. This is a legal document. I think tomorrow, the lawyer will come and talk something about will and LPA and stuff like that. Spoiler. So the legal document is actually you as a donor appointing a donee. It can be 1 or 2 donees. Either to look into your personal welfare or maybe your property and stuff like that. Affairs that they can decide on you, where you live, where you stay, what's going to happen to your HDB flat. That person will have the power to decide and to act on it. Yeah. Because by then, right, we use all this document because of wanting to respect your wishes. Yeah. And usually it happens when you don't have the mental capacity to make that decision. So all these documents are necessary.
Then would you maybe share a bit also about AMD, which is also another document?
So AMD is Advanced Medical Directive. I swear I do not know what's in Malay. Advanced, I don't know. Okay, Advanced Medical Directives. So it's actually happened when you are really terminally ill, and usually in an ICU environment, when you have to be put on a life machine, life-saving machine and stuff like that. Of course, you cannot get up like, just now, Molly, you get up, suddenly you say something, right? No. The person and the doctor will have that document, and they know that these are the wishes that you want. You don't want to be on the machine. If you cannot live life to the fullest, you cannot engage and socialize with your loved ones, you are literally a living corpse. So you use the AMD, Advanced Medical Directive, to decide when you are able to make that decision with the mental capacity, to put it on paper so that if anything happened to you, we have this National Electronic Health Record, right? The doctors that are taking care of you, the nurses, they will have access to what are the things that you have decided for yourself. Yeah. And then the person that you appointed, let's say your nominated healthcare spokesperson, for this case definitely will be Ashraf for this system. I'm confident, okay? That person will also know, how to provide that care.
It's really interesting because I was just thinking about just now the letter that Pig was reading, the first letter. Remember, the daughter went to the hospital. The doctor was in a rush. So many things were happening, and if you had not had conversation, I can imagine the confusion that everybody is going through. And what's more, and then if we listen to the second story has this complex thing which one of the caller was actually relations. And I think when you were talking about the ACP conversations, it's so much about relations, settling of these relations. What are your thoughts about it? What were your experience when you were actually, as a social worker, going through this kind of conversation with people? What are the things that you think we need to look in, especially in terms of dealing with relations in this communication?
What I observe, not everybody is very easy to talk about things like this. You want to talk about love, it's also very difficult. What more saying and expressing, I love you, only to my loved ones, behind closed doors. Okay, so having that conversation is very difficult to start, but you can sense the warmth, the connectedness between the patient and the family members. You can feel it. They have it. They have that strong bond. But to express it, especially in the presence of a doctor or nurses or medical social worker, they find it very hard. So most often they're not. What I will usually do is I will guide them using some keywords. I will start with about what is it that they like about their current life. Then they will say the fact that they are able to socialize, meet their loved ones, interact, having fun, going out, go picnic. So you find out that this person is actually a very lively person who really enjoy life. Yeah. Then what really matter most? Apa yang you risau? What is it that you're very concerned about? About not knowing what decision to make. Yeah. Because talking about life and death, this is something totally new to individuals who are experiencing it. Mm-hmm. So it's always helpful when they have that conversation in the hospital, guided by an ACP facilitator. In a hospital setting, it's easier because we provide that services, there's a role. But at home, when you want to have that conversation, it cannot be rushed. Yeah. If Zahara have to leave, let him go first. Yeah. Whoever is ready, who have the time for you to have that conversation with you, just grab the opportunity and just start with, Kak, I see your face, you look really worried. There's something that's bothering you. You're so different. Just explore.
Kak, as a counselor, right, do you think that this ACP talk or conversation actually usually happen only when someone is in the hospital? Because just now you mentioned about it. It's like, why are we not talking about it while, okay, for me, I am working on this project, right? I still have trouble talking about it, specific into medical. I will talk about, social media. Please delete my social media. But I will not talk about, I will talk about hey, if anything happened, 3 days in the hospital, let everybody say goodbye and then let me go. But yeah, usually, yeah, tell us more stories about why is it that, people only talk about it when they are hospitalized?
Because, Molly, Deep Heng, death is still a taboo subject. It's still a taboo subject. When you talk about death, like you're asking for it. Bunuh lah aku, mati lah aku, that kind of thing. It's still a very uncomfortable subject to talk. Yeah, and for a medical social worker, I'm not saying that it's also easy for us now. You have to go through training on how to break bad news. To break bad news, you also need to go for training, like as if as if death is really approaching and your patient is right in front of you. What are the right things to say? Sometimes during training, the right thing to say when you use it is also wrong. Yeah, so it takes a lot of relationship, understanding, and most often than not, we don't talk so much about death, but we talk about the legacy that you want to leave behind. Yeah, so I'm also grieving, my mom just passed away, yeah, and my dad also in a period of a year. So what we did was, we don't talk so much about when death is approaching, but we talk about mom, if anything happened to you, what are the things that you want to leave behind? She said her recipes. My mom's asam pedas is from Malacca, original. The belacan have to be, you have to cook it properly. So the legacy, things that she wants to leave behind. She's a very good cook. She loves children, and she's a midwife, self-trained midwife. Yeah, like what do you call it now? What nanny? Confinement nanny. Yeah. So those legacy, that conversation, when you start from a point of looking at the person's strength. It's easier that way, rather than you talk about death from an angle of very sad and berduka cita. You end up like, most of the time you get very emotional.
Yeah, I have to say, because I remember in a video, right, in a show, there was that moment when the brother was confronting her. Papa ada cancer. That was the moment when actually she could say, no, Papa don't have. I may have. But why didn't she say? Probably it's because there's a lot of fear there. But instead, she has been skirting around and talking about those things that were important to her. The husband, the children, the bapa, Ashraf. And I think what she was really showing us actually in this sense, when we are talking about end of life, sometimes we start to think only about the person who is dying. But it's actually a community around it.
That's right.
The community of the family and everybody around it, and how to build that closeness.
And the support.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think just to bring it to some of the comments that we've had as we were talking, right?
Yeah.
Cassandra shared about how his late mom, their late mom, left hints 2 days before she passed. She bought all of us black baju kurung, saying that this coming Raya, all of us were wearing black, and she's not going to be making Kueh Raya anymore. She wasn't terminally ill or anything. She just collapsed and passed away 1 week before Ramadan of 2018, and they're still grieving to this day. I think that is something. Stories like this, looking for hints, looking for comfort, and like hearing back. It's something that is part of that process, and also part of that ongoing conversation about this, right?
Yeah, Deep, what I heard is that 100 days or 300 days or whatever, there is this period where the person who is about to leave the earth, they somehow know that they are going somewhere, and then this journey is a journey that they cannot turn back. It's just that they do not know how to express it, but they feel it. Sometimes it's in their dreams, sometimes while they're seated beside us. They're talking to us, but actually their mind is wandering somewhere else, like they're in another world. So this thing about baju kurung and all those things, right? We do have patients that was rushed to A&E after an accident. The same story. The mother said, this is the last Raya. He bought us set of not just baju kurung, but actually songkok for all the brothers. He already know that he's going somewhere and he's not coming back. And then some of them will leave behind things like my mom, her ring, her wedding ring is so big I have to wear the middle finger. Sorry, guys. Something that she left behind, she said, you keep it. She said, because whenever you miss me, you put it on. But I said, Mom, it's so big and so loose lah. Wow, people give gold band and still complain. Then when I lost her and I reflect back and I say, hey, these are actually signs. And most of them, the stories that I heard all about, those signs that they did not pick up. Only after they reflect, then they feel that, alamak, I miss that part, I miss that signpost.
Do you realize that, do you think that a lot of time when we're in this kind of situation, actually the person who is dying actually are more open to talk about it than the people around them?
Yes, true, Heng. It's true. In fact, those people who are dying, they would like to talk about it, but the living is scared because death is taboo. Talking about it, that means tomorrow bye-bye already, yeah? So they tend to avoid it. But actually, conversation like this is very uncomfortable. Even the trained professional will also get choked talking about it. After all, we are human, kan, Deep? I'm grieving, having this conversation help. Yeah.
Thank you so much. At this juncture, I would like to open it up to the floor. If you have any questions or any comments about what we've just shared, especially about some of the terms that we've talked about, this is a time that we can take your questions.
If you could stand up, then
Yeah,
it's easier.
thank you so much for sharing. I thought as you were talking and I was reflecting on the drama, I couldn't help but reflect on about two things. One is sometimes easier to open up to strangers the way, the lady opened up to the neighbor so quickly, actually. But then second also, I think the neighbor modeled something for all of us. He actually picked up on her body language and just asked her. And I think sometimes it's a lot easier between strangers because there's nothing to lose, right? And you just genuinely care for the person. But it's ironic that sometimes between family members, it just feels so much harder. So I just wanted to share those comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Beautiful. Because in a hospital setting, having an ACP facilitator really helps to bridge the patient and the family members. So we start approaching patients who are terminally ill and having that conversation with the patient and asking the patient's permission for us to rope in the family members for a session. So that's the role that we do in a hospital setting. But I think in a community, AIC, Agency for Integrated Care, they provide these services in the community. We can encourage our family members who have difficulty talking to us to go down to and see an ACP facilitator in the community. I think there's a number to call.
Yeah, we do have our resources here, so you can pick them up. I also just want to add on, just very quickly before that person speaks, is that I think family members sometimes have a lot of histories, right? Those histories are very hard to unpack. And that's where the facilitators sometimes really come in to help to actually unpack that part of history in order for genuine conversation to happen. But then, yes, let's go to that audience member.
Hello, thanks for sharing and for the drama. I think it's very relatable. I have a question and maybe like some suggestions and advice. Regarding LPA and when a person picks a family member or someone that's close to them. So my mom actually picked me, but because I guess there was my dad was a bit surprised because he said, oh, you're so young, and why didn't she pick me? Because I'm her spouse. So my mom was very open and she definitely shared, but I think that comment was something that I was like, oh yeah, I didn't think of that. She didn't pick her sisters. And I was just thinking what if the day comes when the decision has to be made? I don't think I actually know how to face the situation where with other let's say adults or people that are her peers or her generation. So yeah, I think watching the drama made me something of that because I think it was quite a bit clearer that the guard would probably pick her adik, right? So I was wondering like, yeah, how he would feel if he had to be in that situation. Yeah.
Okay, so criteria is you must be 21 years and above. You look really young, but I guess you are more than 21 years old. Yeah. Secondly, the person that you nominate must be able to withstand the stress and the pressure. Hearing from your soothing voice, I think you're very cool, calm, and collected, just like a cucumber. So sometimes a lot of times people will say, why you choose him, not choose me, and all that. There is a reason, you know. There's a reason why you are chosen. One, because of your closeness to your mom. She doesn't have to talk to you. Telepathy, you can read her already. So maybe that's one of the reasons, the strength that you have. The connection. Yeah, the connection.
Perhaps I do also want to know that when she picked you, was there a conversation between your families about who she's going to pick before she got you to sign? Yeah. Okay.
The conversation with me, but not with the larger family. But after she picked me, then she told the family. Like, yeah.
I think if that has been reversed, the sense will be a bit different.
Maybe.
Yeah. But I hear you because I was supposed to make decisions for my dad when I had an elder brother, and it was a very difficult decision. Even though I've been in this, looking at this for so many years, at that moment when you make a decision for the person who is dying, there's immense pressure. But it doesn't mean that you cannot consult those people around you.
Yeah, but I asked a lot of patients. They were telling me it's easier to pick the person first, make that decision, then tell the rest. Because if not, by you telling the rest, everybody will veto. You will never get things done. So I already chose her. I chose her already. She signed already. News blood. Yeah, those are the stories I heard.
Thank you very much. I think we have to really. Yeah, but at the same time, I think that this conversation and also your sharings has kind of made things clearer on why we are doing this. I think to talk about wishes, talk about respect, and at the same time also with that comes the practicalities of actually dealing with it, right? Dealing with family dynamics, dealing with how to start these conversations, and also like how do we honor the wishes of those who are dying without giving into our fears and our anxieties as those that we are being left behind.
Yes. Yeah. I also have been reflecting a bit, two things which is very interesting in today's conversation. In a lot of the sharing, there was a lot of details that were in there, small details of what my mother has done, what she has done. I think during those moments when we're in a rush, we don't see all these moments. And so in a way, I'm just thinking about our contemporary life now, right? Yeah. So we just don't have the time to just really sit down and savor and really watch over and look at these details that helps build so much memories and legacies of that person and that relationships. That's the first thing. And the second thing is actually today's conversation, especially with the Gloria one, how she wears it. I was thinking about the multicultural setup that we have in Singapore. How much do we know another culture, especially when dying is very much a part of our existence, whether which ethnic group that we comes from. And through that, you can actually understand a lot about what it means to live. And then I've been thinking about how we can actually bridge that kind of conversations and to understand each other. Yeah. Kat, do you have any last thing that you want to share?
Yes. This is the last thing from me. If you guys are grieving, don't rush the process. Go with the flow. Where is our flow? She's behind, is it? She's flow. Okay, yes. Go with the flow. Time will heal. Okay? And when I say time, it's different timing for you, Molly. Different timing for me, Adib and Heng. Yeah. Sometimes when I thought I'm okay, I'm good, I come back home crying. Yeah. And then some people say, hey, you're mad or what? It's okay. But it's my feelings, yeah. And I think about, when we talk about death, in Islam also, we are encouraged to go and visit Pusara Aman. Flo, you want to go with me? is when you go and see the graveyard.
Oh, know what to wear this time.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got a lot
no
black.
more flaming red.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, I
Thank
got
you
a
so
lot
much.
black. I give you
Ya, tak
some.
apa, nanti kita pergi sana.
Okay, sama-sama. Yeah. So when you go and see the process of how people are buried and stuff like that, visiting the cemetery, you remember that life is actually, death is going to hit us anytime. We do not know when. So enjoy it. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Kak Zahara.
Thank you
thank
so
you
much,
everyone
Kak.
here. We'll pass the time back to Gloria and Hatta.
Thank you.